Chenai, are you available?
Yes, I am. I'm just turning my camera on.
Amazing.
Can I be seen?
We can hear you. And yes, I can see you online. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Chenai, Mupotsa-Russell, and I'm speaking to you here on Wurundjeri land, and I'd like to pay my respects to elders past and present. You just got to excuse me. After managing to dodge it for a couple of years, I've got COVID, hence my shortness of breath. But I was determined to come and give my little presentation. So excuse me if my brain's a bit fuzzy.
Thank you.
So I am the founder and director of Rainbow Muse Clinic, which is a neuroaffirming place. We have art therapy, psychology, play therapy, all sorts of things for young people, and then also it's a little not-for-profit under Rainbow. And I actually started Rainbow Muse while still working at a Headspace centre and sort of starting to see the links between some of the things that have been discussed, the intersections between, neurodivergence and also gender, sexuality, all the kind of different things, and the beautiful young people I got to work with there who I was seeing as slipping through the cracks without realizing it. I thought, I wonder if I can start to create something that's more aligned with what I think is missing. I didn't sort of set out to do that, but it's sort of, happened. I'm a late diagnosed autistic and ADHDer, and I was diagnosed at 32. And my diagnosis came because once I started my own practice, I was an NDIS registered provider working with a lot of children, neurodivergent children. And one day I just had a light bulb moment where I realized I was quite tired from explaining things to parents that, like, what the little kidlets did made absolute sense. But what I had learnt, the learnt sort of language and communication was what I was relaying to parent, not what I was trying to get from the children. And I was like, you're magical and beautiful. You make sense. I'm one of you. And with a lot of the children I work with, I do disclose, at Rainbow Muse, we just call it being magical brained, and I disclose my magical brainness, and we co-create, I guess, and I guess that's the meaning making part of it. Each individual, I guess, has the opportunity to make sense of the world in their own way, celebrating their traits. Next slide. I guess I thought what I'd focus on today, I did see there are a few sort of people talking about intersectionality, so I thought I would just hone in a little bit on the aspect of cultural diversity. When I tell, family, I'm a Zimbabwean born, and when I tell family, not just back in Zimbabwe, different community members in different culturally and linguistically diverse communities here in Australia, that I'm autistic, they're like, no way, because I guess there is a notion of what that is and what that looks like, and that misunderstanding has lots of layers of complexity as to why the misunderstanding is there. But there's also this big factor of when people are from a migrant background, their very survival in Australia is dependent upon assimilation. So when the starting point for every individual in a society is compliance and conformity, what chance do neurodivergent, culturally diverse children stand? And I do find so much of the compliance-based therapies that the autistic community are very much against, we see those very much used in diverse communities simply because there is so much, there's even less privilege and more oppression, so less of an opportunity to fully lean into being oneself, which I think makes it an even more vulnerable group. I think mainstream services also at times misunderstand what neurodivergence means in different cultures. I've worked with people from cultures where they say, my child back in the village would have been a shaman, or, there's cultures that celebrate neurodivergence. And I think the one size fits all model that we have with a lot of therapies, which is, social skills, the really outdated teacher child to make eye contact and have reciprocal communication. Aside from it being ableist, it's not even culturally competent. It's not even what is done in a lot of cultures and communities. So I think moving away from those Anglo-centric ideas of what it is to be well, and working with communities to redefine the fact that there's no one size fits all for being magical brained, but there's also no one size fits all for being magical brained with the full spectrum of different ways of being. And I also wanted to point out there are not a lot of resources. So when I do come across resources, it's hard to find ones that are in different languages or applicable to different communities or speak to different communities. So there's a major gap there. And it also means I was running a program at an English language school with newly arrived refugees, and the understanding and the vulnerability, I guess, is heightened. And I think when you're newly arrived, the fear of, I guess, being sent back, whatever it might be, makes people reluctant to access services and that kind of thing. Next slide. I am aware 5 minutes is not as long as I thought. Words are not enough, I guess. Being an art therapist, I also wanted to speak to multimodal communication, and that this is something not just within this context we talk of, cross-culturally, the idea of when we communicate with the English language and nothing else, it is so limiting for so many people, but even more so culturally diverse people. So honoring, visual forms of communication, to different forms of intervention, using different things that come more naturally to all sorts of humans and engage people's senses, ways of being, and culture in lots of ways. Next slide. I guess with community and connection, I did want to flag this notion of community consultation with diverse communities, like culturally and linguistically diverse communities as well. I'm currently a mum of a client of mine. She wrote a book for the Muslim community, like for her mosque, and I'm illustrating it, and it's like the idea that I have lots of books that I read with little increasing representation and narratives, and also, I guess, sometimes family inclusive practice, working with diverse communities at times, does not mean having one child or one human or one adult or whoever as your client. It means working holistically with families. It means working with families in different ways, just slipping into, getting a community development approach, as well as not just that clinical intervention of therapy, your child who sees their OT, their speechy, their whatever lost. It's more, how do we support this family? Because as well, and if one family member is neurodivergence likely, there are others. They just might be better at masking it. Next slide. And I suppose my key points is I would just really love to see more consultation and more diverse voices, more, just seeing, a wider range of, I guess, diverse autistic voices being listened to. Like right now we're asking just for autistic voices to be listened to, but also thinking of those other intersecting identities, thinking of service provision, bringing into mind being neuroaffirming and also culturally competent at the same time. And also to say, I guess, when we do support humans to be their fullest selves, they can be, it's just amazing. It's completely amazing. So think of it as an investment, like an investment into an explosion of richness that the community is not tapping into because of sometimes us not all getting to be our best selves. Anyway, thank you for listening to me. I will remute.
Thank you.